Not a Great Whisperer podcast. This is your host, Katy Rey, where I interview ordinary people living extraordinary lives. And I have one of my favorite people, Amy Mangueira, on today. And we're just going to talk all the things that she's doing because she's doing a lot of freaking things. Amy, welcome back.
Woo, yeah. So excited to be back. I get to see you too in this cool studio.
I know, it's super fun. It's just, we were making up rap names earlier, which is perfect.
Yes.
We're tackling your new burnout book because Amy is our burnout expert on our team. And we are talking about her burnout book that just came out. We are talking about her, I'm going to say it right, 6-star finisher. Mm-hmm. She just nailed the 6th marathon of the big marathons. She's awesome. I don't think we celebrated it enough, so I like to bring it back on because I think it's out of control amazing since her rap name is Run AMM. And so we're going to talk about all those things. But let's talk about the book. It just launched. Are you super hyped?
Just launched. Yeah, I am. It actually launched and I didn't even know it launched. My aunt told me she bought a copy, so that's really interesting. But yeah, this book was a product of like seeking out my own help. You know, yep. Like I think we write because we're trying to find help. And so, yeah, this is like an actionable guide for people that are just either super burnout like I was, or they're like heading down the path of burnout. Mm-hmm. But I actually have some actionable tips in there that can be quick references even after you're starting to like come up for air.
Yeah. And what situation led to the like final straw for you?
Yeah. Really getting a burst of sudden hearing loss in my left ear. It was like my rock bottom moment. I had been not listening to my body for a really long time, but I was depressed too. I was like overworked and kind of in that state where you're like, you know, I don't think there's another option. I have to do this. I had a business. I had partners. I was like kind of working in this very toxic role too and bearing the burden of a toxic work environment, trying to lead people. Plus, I was trying to finish a personal goal of running 6 marathons, this world major series Katy mentioned. And my body had like screamed multiple times. And while I had made small changes, this sudden hearing loss was actually like the big straw for me. And it was actually like I like to call it my drop the mic moment. It was like, okay, quitting immediately, making the plan to sell the business, and then all the healing that had to come from that.
Which was a lot
of healing. And you remember my inflammatory levels were insane. And I had to go on that anti-inflammatory diet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was not sleeping. I was like an insomniac. It was like really starting to get scary.
The patches you were wearing for like anxiety and stuff, remember?
Yeah.
I always remember that. You're like, Katy, I'm wearing patches.
Yeah. Or
and I'm laughing, not laughing at that, but just like I remember you holding it up and being like, are you kidding?
Yeah. Or when we would go to like a client workshop and I had to bring my own food.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was so important that I was on like anti-inflammatory foods. It was insane.
And that really goes into your discipline too. And just knowing that if this is the path I need to go on to heal, I'm going to do it. Where a lot of people struggle with that. Mm-hmm. Being self-aware, knowing like, okay, as long as I stick it out right now, I'm going to be able to get to that finish line. And as a runner, I feel like that kind of, your mentality's always been like that.
Yeah, I think I'm so sensitive to that topic lately. You know, I think I wrote the book actually because, you know, this was a very vulnerable book for me. And you know me well enough. Like, I kind of like to just hold all the like feelings inside. Mm-hmm. I'm not one to really share. And so to write this book and actually see it through to publishing is like a huge step for me. Mm-hmm. I remember the anxiety of just being like, oh no, people are going to know the truth.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's so many people out there, a lot of my loved ones included, where they're like, oh, I have all these problems. I'm going to complain every day to my partner, and they're giving all this energy and they're constantly stressed. And yet they refuse to do anything about it because they say statements like, oh, I just can't right now, or I just have to do this for a little bit longer. Yeah. And it's like, no, you don't.
You don't. And I know, yeah, being vulnerable, I think is really important though to get to your vision of helping people. Like you have to, because you are so relatable. Even on your last speaking event for Celebrate You, when another woman in the crowd said, I lost my hearing too. Yeah. And you're just like, what?
I know. This is happening to other people.
Yeah, I know. And it's like, she probably can't relate to anyone when she just got, like it's that just connection piece that you're doing now. So love the book, get the book, go follow Amy's aunt and go buy it, But I think one of the things you're doing now is with your book tour relating to the leaders and the employees, because it does take everyone involved. And how do you feel like that when you've been kind of doing this and talking to people about burnout?
Well, I think it's an interesting concept because I think in leadership, if a leader is burnt out, naturally that angst and anxiety and stress is being cascaded down to the employees and teams, whether they want to do, whether they mean to do it or not. So I think a lot of times when an employee goes home and starts to say, man, my leader's neurotic, my leader is constantly freaking out about things, it's that leader who actually needs to do the self-reflection work and get help. So they might not be malicious about it, but they just need their own self-awareness. So with the leaders, it's been more like, hey, we need to do the self-awareness for you. We need to put boundaries in place for you. We need to help you protect your teams. And then for the employees, it's really starting to build that accountability. You hear a lot like, oh, I hate my job, but I can't leave. And it's like, it's not a matter of can, it's a matter of just when. Like maybe not right now, but you can certainly plan 90 days in the future or start that side hustle that will allow you to fulfill the passion maybe you're missing at work. And so it's all about just trying to get people to take accountability for their choices. And I might be triggering people listening to this like, how dare you tell me this? But really, we've got to understand that we get to choose and it's our biggest superpower. And then from there, we get to make boundaries and say no to people, including our boss. So if your calendar is getting overloaded with meetings, start blocking it and communicating this to all the people around you that have been violating this time. So this work is pretty intense for 10, 12 weeks, but then it's lifelong work. We've got to keep refreshing back. Heck, I just read my own book a couple days ago, going through another stress episode where I was like, okay, Amy, calm down. Let's refresh. Remember the things you're teaching others. Let's go back and use your own words.
Which is important and very relatable. And you have to still do the work every day.
Yeah.
It's just, what are we putting the effort into?
Yes.
What was it you said that you're sensitive about now? The running piece? What is it you said earlier you're sensitive about that topic?
I think I'm just sensitive overall at how bad the whole situation got. Like how did I let it all get this bad? And I don't necessarily know that to date I've actually really shared the deep, dark details with anybody, but like God and the greater who's got my back, It was a tough time. So yeah, it's kind of a sensitive thing where you're like, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable, but still I'm not ready to totally open up.
Well, yeah. And, with all the work you're doing, I feel like that service there is kind of helping you heal along the way, and you'll get to that level, but it's still fresh.
It is. Yeah. So fresh.
Super fresh. But it's awesome. You wrote a book. We have an author in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. And what do you think about finishing? Okay, so you had a setback with your running. You had a new coach, all that. And you could feel like your body wasn't where it was supposed to be. Like, how was that setback? Because you knew you wanted to be a 6-star finisher. Like, what was your mentality there?
Yes, I have had so many setbacks, but this last one was kind of like the first time I actually said to myself, like, maybe this isn't gonna be what my path ends up with. Maybe I should be fine with 5 out of 6 stars because my inflammation was so bad and I wasn't getting the same return on fitness that I was used to. And I was just kind of like, wow, I am not the same runner that I was, even 2 years ago. And so what it took was, I think, starting with the nutrition part and like lowering the inflammation and being able to say to myself, like, okay, Amy, if you do 4 minutes of running and 1 minute of walking, like, what does that mean? That just means you've gone out and you still are moving forward to your progress, right? Like, you don't have to be running 8-minute miles to be worthy of the title of a runner or a 6-star finisher. So it was that mindset shift. And then it's so funny you bring up my coach, Katy, because that was sort of a really big period of time where me, and I think part of the reason I got into this burnout situation was being a yes ma'am. like constantly just being like, oh, you didn't do this for me. That's okay. I'll get by, instead of like speaking up and like caring about myself. And so when I did go through a big coach transition, and I had the same coach for almost 5 years. I mean, we're very close, and it was very hard. I got another coach that just, I knew in my gut was not doing the right programming for me. Like nothing felt right. I think having the courage to say, thank you so much for everything you've done, but this isn't working for me, and I need to move forward, was like the biggest boost of confidence I needed to be like, you know what, Amy, you've come a long way, and you are going to finish this journey you set out to finish. And I think in December, I started to say to myself, okay, you know what? You've got a couple more months. If you have to walk and crawl to the finish line through Tokyo, you're going to do that, because this meant so much to you, and you've dedicated 5 years of your life. And just the simple fact that I was able to pull myself out of such a dark time, that like had to be celebrated.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah. Oh my God. And that you explain it so well. Like, these are the steps. This is what was happening in my head. This is how I've always been. This is how I had to get out of how I've always been. And it's always like teachable, because you were a former teacher, so you're always teaching. But how is this whole healing process, and it continue, have we arrived? We don't know. But how has this really changed your life, and how can you tell from where you were a year ago to like right now?
Yeah, the biggest one is just having so much purpose. You know, it's like people are constantly asking, I know me, they're like, oh, am I on the right path? Or how do you find your purpose? And I think starting to remember who your authentic self is, and doing the work to remember like what are your core values, and going back through and saying, who have you sacrificed your core values for? So in my future, like my past, of owning my own business, I was literally at the beck and call of 18 plus clients all the time. And I was sacrificing things I believed in, my experience, just to make them happy. And so part of the healing is like knowing who I am at my core, and just being so unapologetically happy to be me. And that means saying no. That means like going out when people are having drinks and holding my water cup, like super pumped because I'm awesome and I do not need to have a drink in my hand to have fun. It's all these things that were true to my core that I was suppressing because I was trying to conform to everybody else's standards, what society needed from me, and what success looked like to other people. Mm-hmm. I mean, from the outside, you know how many times people told me, you are so successful. You're a superhuman. You make so much money. And internally, I had no identity. I hated everything that was going on. I was literally cynical and miserable and depressed. Mm-hmm. So now that won't ever happen again because I'm so aware of it. I'm like, nope. I don't believe in that. This is not the path for me. And I've turned down clients because they don't meet my core values. And I've turned down opportunities because they don't meet my core values.
I love that. And okay, so say we met on the street and you had to give me who you are, not like your pitch, right? Just like who you are. Who are you?
Yeah, the best way I like to describe myself is I'm a recovering chaser of busy. Oh. I am a person that is in active recovery, and I am a person that is slowing down and focusing. And so that's who I am. I am so excited to have done so many things, but I am moving away right now from titles and labels because right now titles and labels activate a stress response inside of me that makes me feel like I'm not doing enough. So instead, when people meet me, I just say, hi, I'm Amy. I'm a recovering chaser of busy. I'm a wife, a mom, and I'm a professional.
Yeah, girl.
That is it.
You know, I love that. Drop them labels because it doesn't give you that anxiety. It also it brings shame sometimes when you bring up and you're like, oh, should I not be a mom and a professional? Oh, should I not be this and that? Oh, should I? And you're like, it's in your head and you're just like, F that. You know, I'm a fan of that. Get rid of them all. Get rid of them all. I love that we're, because I think we're all in recovery.
Yeah.
You know, the stigma of addiction is real, but like you are always going to recover from that burnout, from that 100 things on your plate. I really liked that. I wasn't ready for it, and I like surprises. I'm a big fan of surprises.
Yeah, it's just a new thing lately.
This is my new thing, and I wanted to talk about it in this season of recovery. But you're right. if we more saw that of like, who are we and what are we doing the work on every day? I think that's a fun way to relate to people.
Yeah.
Because when you said that, I was like, holy shit, me too.
I know, right? It's just like, I think it's even funny because I started my Instagram, like how many years ago now? Like what?
Project Amy.
But Project Amy is a symbolism of like, I'm under construction all the time. And I think it was my way of like fighting back against social media, like stop putting the perfect pictures of your life up only. And I just want us to embrace being human more.
All day.
We're recovering, all of us. We're projects, we're testing, exploring.
Humans.
Yeah, we're humans.
And we also have our company, Humans First
Yeah.
Coaching. Thank you. How can we find you? How can we get the book? Tell us that. Even though she did just say IG Project Amy. There's that.
Yes, Instagram at Project Amy. My personal website is amymangueira.com. I'm sure Katy will spell that out in the show notes because that is. Also can find us on Humans First Coaching because we are doing a lot of work in corporate to try to change this phenomenon, let's say.
Yeah.
And then you can buy the book on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com and other platforms, but I'd say just go there because you'll find it.
And you can find Amy at The Real K Rey, KatyRey.com, Not a Great Whisperer podcast, Humans First Coaching, because that's what we do. We were able to find ourselves at a very hard place and come out in the end kicking butt and helping people. So what a journey. And thank you for joining the show to talk about all the things, Amy. And I'm just super excited for what's next.
Yes, me too. And I'm always grateful for you, Katy.
Hey, my introvert to my extrovert. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Bye.